Shukayach to Rabbi Silver. Shukayach to Young Israel for hosting tonight's event. Shukayach to Mr. Wander, Josh Wander, coordinated the event. And I know initially Josh had intended to have a couple of words of inspiration, as well as there was an idea to bring a psychologist to talk about how to talk to your children about such issues, and then maybe from police department someone to talk about security issues. And Bashkacha Pratis didn't work out that way, and tonight is a night of inspiration. And although those other issues are of extreme importance, and maybe at another time it would be appropriate to have those issues addressed, but Hashgacha Pratis at a separate time and a separate setting, because having Hashgacha Pratis been there for the 30-some hours that they were looking for young Levi, and there, unfortunately, we found out the sad news that Levi had tragically been murdered. The sense at the moment, at least for myself and for those who I interacted with, was not that, what do we need to teach our children? Laws of safety, what's appropriate, at what age should children start walking home? That was not the sense on the streets of Borough Park that evening or the next day. Because the sense was that what had transpired was beyond, something totally beyond the expected or the normal. And if you think about it for a moment, Borough Park, hundreds and thousands of people walking the streets at 5 p.m. I happened to have been there that day, a couple hours before. My wife's grandfather passed away, so it was his yahrzeit, it was the Levaya. The streets were packed with Yidden. 5 p.m. in Borough Park. A child gets lost, and if we had some sort of statistician here who could do the statistics and the numbers, crunch the numbers. What are the chances that a child in Borough Park is going to run into a Meshugana that we haven't met like this in our lifetime or for many lifetimes? It's unheard of, the whole story. What could the parents have done? Was it about not letting the child walk home or allowing him to walk home? It really did not have that feeling and that sense at all. Clearly, this was something, and as Rabbi Silver said, to try to explain it as ludicrous. But what is the Jewish response? And what is it that it's asked upon us to do in times like this? Because we need to remember, the Pasuk says in Hazinu, Tzur yilodcha teshi vatishkach kel mechaylecha, which literally and simply means we forgot the God who gave birth to us, and we ignore the God, and we forget the God who brought us forth. But the Dubner Magid explained that pasuk as follows. Beautiful words from the Dubner Magid. He explained that pasuk with the following story. He said there was once an individual who owed a lot of money. He was in debt. As many of us, unfortunately, are aware of today. That's the Maimon and Matzah of today. So this individual was in debt. And he had a close friend. And he asked his friend for an eitzah, for advice. He says, what do I do with all this debt? So he recommended to him, he said, listen, he says, when the creditors come, the people you owe money to, come and claim the money, make yourself like a Meshugana. Pretend you're insane, you lost your mind. And by doing so, they'll realize they have nobody to talk to. So this was the eitzah that his friend gave him. All right. The friend who had given him this advice also had lent his friend a lot of money. So after a couple of weeks, he comes over to the friend who he had given this advice, and he says, excuse me, but what about the money that you owe me? So he makes himself a sugar. So the guy says, hold on one second. I gave you that advice to act crazy when people come to claim the debt. You're using that same trick on me. So the Dubner Magid said, Tzur yilodcha teshi, which means as follows. God, who gave birth to us, created us with the capacity to forget. Teshi. Why did He create us with the capacity to forget? Because Rahman al-Islam, God forbid, if we go through a tragedy in our lives, we should not know it's a tragedy, but that night, that morning, was a tragedy for Klal Yisrael. And the closer you were, maybe you felt it more. It was painful. You didn't know what to do with yourself. So Hashem created us with the capacity to forget, because if He didn't create us with the capacity to forget, and the intensity of pain existed